So today will be our last session, inshallah, theoretical session as such. And after that, we'll be starting our test sessions. I'll give you 4 or 5 days to just go through uh, the previous things, whatever like I've covered in the theory, so that you can just go through it before you actually start attempting the test. So anyways, well, this was the last slide that we covered in our previous lecture. And in that, the takeaway was that whenever you are given a list of answers, in that it's better to go through these answers at least twice when you are given some time to look at questions. Because questions will obviously come in the same sequence as as your recording, okay? And you can just have a look on the questions even while listening to recording. But this thing is very important too, because without having an idea of the options, you may not be able to match the correct option while listening to the recording. So this was the takeaway from previous slide. So now let's start our today's lesson, that is reaching a decision. Now there are two different things. One is reaching a decision, and other is reaching an agreement. Okay, in section 1, if you remember, there's an exchange of information. Someone asks, okay, so I want to travel from this place to this place, which package will suit me? The other person offers 2 or 3 packages, with different prices, with different merits and demerits. And after some discussion, finally the customer may reach at some decision, okay, which thing he or she is going to avail, either bus or taxi or airplane or whatever. But you see, as I mentioned, that for making any decision, there will be some advantages and disadvantages. Will be discussed about different packages that are being offered, or different not only packages, of different options that are given to the speakers. But in case of section 3, as we have seen already, that there is a disagreement in the beginning. Someone is saying that we should cut short the introduction, slides or paragraph. Other is saying, no, I guess it's pretty fine. Then tutor says, no, I guess although it's fine, and but you need to change the presentation methodology, maybe. Fine. So in the beginning there's a disagreement, and finally towards the end of the talk they reach an agreement. So you can call it as a decision as well, but primarily there's slight difference between decision and agreement, right? Anyway, sometimes speaker may need to decide on what action to take. A discussion like this might focus on the reasons on one course of action, why one course of action is important or necessary. So let me plug in my charger, just give me a minute. I'm sorry guys, you'll have to listen to this, you'll have to bear with it. Okay. Although doctor has prescribed me a medicine, but so far I didn't get time to take the medicines. Okay. So anyways, look at the questions below in the table and write the possible advantages and disadvantages you might hear. This is just to give you an idea of the focus of this kind of discussions, right? Now, if you see, the first question asks you, the speakers decide to travel to airport by what? Now, what do you think? What will be the advantage of taxi? Amjad, are you there?
Yes, sir.
What will be the advantage of taking a taxi? Any idea? Obviously, it's flexible.
Easy to approach.
Yeah, the flight may leave very early in the morning, and until that such time, probably no bus service starts. Maybe.
Buses will be available, right?
Yeah. So that's then obviously taxi will take you to the drop lane of the airport, but bus will drop you somewhere outside the airport. So obviously these are, but the disadvantages, this is going to be very expensive. Then for bus, obviously this is cheaper, but again we have already covered the disadvantages, timing and all that issue. Then car is the more convenient, but obviously having a car and sparing a car, then that means there would be someone who will be going to drop you,
Yes.
obviously, right? So these are different aspects that might be covered in the recording. Similarly, what do the students decide to do next? Ask their tutor for help, do more research on the topic, then produced a typed copy of their notes. So this is not, for question number one. We are not going to discuss any topics. Now I'm going to play the recording, and I want you guys to, actually you are only here and other will be watching the video. So I want you people to please answer me, right? Answer me. I want your answers. Clear?
Okay.
All right, all the best.
Recording 26. Section 1.
How are we going to get to the airport on Monday? Shall we get a taxi?
It would be nice and convenient, but the fare is so expensive.
That's true. Well, if you want to save money, we could always take the bus.
It might be cheaper, but the bus doesn't start running until 7 o'clock, and we need to be at the airport by 6. I'll ask my sister if she can give us a lift.
That would be great if she could drive us.
Yes, I'm sure she won't mind.
Section 3.
So, what else have we got to do?
Well, we've gathered enough information. I don't think we need to find out any more.
You're right. Should we go and see Professor Smith then? We could ask his advice.
Well, he could check it for us and make sure we've done enough. But I'd rather do that after we've put it all together. At the moment, we only have a lot of handwritten notes. I don't want to show him that.
Okay, let's divide the material up and each put it onto a disk so we can print off a nicely presented copy.
Right. I guess it was simple enough.
Yes, sir.
So options.
Sir, for section 1, it's C.
Okay.
And actually, I'm not able to read the second question in section 3. It's quite blurry over, but I guess it's option C.
Yeah, again, it's option
CD,
C. Yeah, produce a typed copy of their notes and
type copy, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Both are C, right? So with this, we have concluded our this lecture, and now I'll be shifting to the last lecture. But here, the point was, the point to remember was, there are different options. Speakers discuss different options, and then they keep dropping those options one by one. Like in the beginning, one of the students, he right away said that, well, I guess we have done enough, and now we don't need to look at further research. So this is dropped now. Then he said that I guess we need to see our tutor and we can show them. And the girl says, yes, I guess he can have a look on this, whatever we have done so far. But before that, we need to do something else. So, A was again dropped. So they'll keep discussing one option, and the other, the sequence won't be there, but they will keep discussing the different options one by one, and they will keep dropping. But sometimes here, the point is that sometimes after like dropping the bus or taxi, let's say, in the end, once they'll discuss the car, then they would say, oh, but we don't have anybody to, pick us for the car. So let's go back by our first initial discussion, initial decision or initial choice. So they may come back to the taxi again. Right? Okay. So this is done. Right, lecture 4. Identifying main ideas. The question in the listening test will focus on the main points made by the speaker. This is especially for the section 4 actually. That is, there's one speaker in that. He delivers a speech on some topic. So it is important to be able to identify the main topics, main points of the talk. At the start of each talk, You will be told who the speakers is or are and why they are talking. We have already covered it in our first lesson, that they tell us the context of the recording. So you won't be tested on this. Obviously, they won't ask you who was the speaker, but obviously this information gives you a lot of information. Without knowing the context, you may not be able to understand even who the person, one person is and who the other person is, and you cannot understand the talk. So anyways, in between the main points, speaker may also mention things that are not directly related to the main purpose of the talk. Now this is exactly the same, and actually I will show you a recording, or sorry, I'll play a recording, and in that you would see that the main points covered by the speaker would be same as I told you, you guys, about my background. Actually, I'm not sure, Amjad, if you were there or not. In the first few classes, I told these guys too about how I was going in my job, like in Navy, and then my illness, and then I had to quit. I had to resign from Navy, and then I was in the process of moving abroad. I appeared in the test, IELTS test, and from there on, I got into this business. So that is how I started teaching IELTS. So now this was the main topic. This was the main idea that I was talking about. My purpose of my talk was to tell you that how I started teaching IELTS. But in that, I covered 4 main points, right? My service, my job, my illness, my resignation, and then my immigration process. And that I applied for this, and that's how I reached it. So these are 4 main points. But in between the points, I also told, like, okay, I was nominated for a course, a foreign course, and I went for the medical of that course, before going to Turkey. And in that, I was diagnosed with this, and I was hospitalized for so and so time, for these many months, for these many years, and so on. So now, these are additional details. So this one, the last one, is purpose of the talk. These are 4 main points. And within these points, the years, the dates, and everything, those are, you can say uh, extra information. Not extra information, but the detailed information. Got it? Okay, Amjad, you're taking dinner, right? If I'm not wrong. You can.
No, no,
Okay.
no, sir, not at all.
No, not at all. Okay, no, you can if you want to. So now listen to the.
I have already taken.
Okay, I know that. I gave you maximum time for that. Now listen to part of a talk by Paul, and I guess his name is not Paul in the recording. He tells a different name, if I'm not wrong. Listen to a part of a talk by Paul, and an Australian pen. Now just remember, whenever there's a difficult word for you, difficult word is there, like paleontologist. So what is that? It would be explained for you either by the speaker or in the question. A scientist who studies dinosaurs and fossils. Such scientist is known as paleontologist. So to help practice keeping the track of the talk, put the phrases below. Well, just forget that. I'm going to. This is really going to be slightly difficult. Okay. Now, please remember this. I'll play the recording. Sorry, I'll play the recording again, but just have a look at this question now. Which of the following describes the main topic of the talk? Important lectures Paul has given, describing the process that led to Paul's current role, explaining how ancient Australian animals became extinct. Now remember, he is an Australian person, so his accent is going to be a little difficult for you to understand. Okay. So
Okay.
and his speed is too much. So just listen to it, and I only want you to figure out what was the main purpose, main topic of the talk. So now just focus on that, and then I'll show you these options again. Okay. I'm sorry. I hope you will not do cheating.
Recording 27.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John, and I'm a paleontologist. Now, when most people hear that, they immediately get an image of an old professor studying dried-up dinosaur bones, or else they think of a great adventurer from the movies. Well, I'm neither. But I would like to talk to you today about how I came to be a paleontologist and the reason I believe it is an important job. All my life, my main interest has been the environment. So I actually started out as an ecology student. As part of my degree course, I had to do a unit on extinction, and a lecturer visiting from another university gave us a talk on Australia's extinct animals. One of the animals he talked about was called the diprotodon. It's an ancestor of the modern Australian wombat. He described this enormous animal crossing ancient lakes, getting stuck in the mud and becoming part of the fossil record, which is what we call the preserved remains of animals and plants that we find. And I was fascinated. So fascinated that I immediately changed courses. But paleontology isn't all easygoing. The very first field trip I went on was pretty awful. We went to an outback fossil site and we were digging in extreme conditions. I've learned since that that's pretty standard for work like this. But to make matters worse, after 5 days I'd found nothing. I was getting really disheartened, and I was starting to regret my decision when, on the last day of the trip, I was digging into the bank of an ancient dried-up riverbed and found a funny-looking piece of rock. Inside it was a tooth from a giant kangaroo. Finding that one fossil made me realise that this was a field I really wanted to continue working in.
Okay. Which of the following describes the main topic of the talk? Important lectures Paul has given, describing the process that led to Paul's current role, explaining how ancient Australian animals became extinct.
Sir, it's not at all A.
Oh yeah, sure, good.
It was a bit of an animal extinction discussed, but more of the clues relate to option B.
Option B, exactly. He just described, like even
Especially
in
the way he just started his discussion, describing how he
exactly,
came to.
exactly. He said that today I want to tell you this thing. So, and he wanted to tell that how he started this career, and then at the end, again, he mentioned the same thing that finding that thing actually made me realize that that was the career I was looking for or something. Okay, now I'm not going to explain this recording to, I'll not play it again because there are some other exercises waiting for you from the same recording. So once it will be done, I will just, play and pause to explain what he's saying because I want you guys to make you understand what he's saying, right? By that time, I hope you already would have learned or understood what he said. So now think about your answers in the last practice test and listen again which three phrases from the following are used to give information that is directly related to the main purpose of the talk. He talked about different points. The first point was the very first trip I went on. Obviously, somehow this was related, but not very much. It is an ancestor of this thing. Again, this is not related to the main purpose. I found a funny looking piece. Okay, this is now, now this thing. I immediately changed courses. This sentence is related to his conversion, his shift towards this profession. I'm not sure if you are able to hear me or not. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
yes.
Okay, fine. So now, here is a summary completion task below. And I want you guys to please read through this, and then we'll see, or we'll try to look at this summary completion task in a different format. Like Paul was interested in the dash, so took an ecology course at university. So here, what we have to look for, his interest, obviously. what he was interested in.
Yes.
The course included a section on something, again a noun, and an interesting lecture caused him to quickly change his degree. So Paul says working in paleontology can be difficult, and he describes the conditions as dash. What kind of conditions are there in this profession that we need to know? Then, however, the discovery of a dash from an ancient animal made him realize he had made the right choice, right decision, right? So now I'm going to play the recording, and I want you to please write the answers. There's a word limit for you, one word only. Okay, I'm going to play it, and then obviously we will discuss it by pausing and then playing again and again.
Recording 27.
Good morning, everyone.
Excuse me, sir.
My name is John.
Sorry, yep.
Can you turn off the video and restart it because we are
Screen is not clear, right. There's some internet issue going on. I'm not sure because, there's a problem with internet today because of weather.
much better.
Not much better, right?
Now.
I hope you can see it now.
Yes.
Okay, just let me know when it's perfectly clear, and then I'll play.
Yes, go on.
Oh, okay, right, I'm playing it now.
Recording 27.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John, and I'm a paleontologist. Now, when most people hear that, they immediately get an image of an old professor studying dried-up dinosaur bones, or else they think of a great adventurer from the movies. Well, I'm neither. But I would like to talk to you today about how I came to be a paleontologist and the reason I believe it is an important job. All my life, my main interest has been the environment. So I actually started out as an ecology student. As part of my degree course, I had to do a unit on extinction, and a lecturer visiting from another university gave us a talk on Australia's extinct animals. One of the animals he talked about was called the diprotodon. It's an ancestor of the modern Australian wombat. He described this enormous animal crossing ancient lakes, getting stuck in the mud and becoming part of the fossil record, which is what we call the preserved remains of animals and plants that we find. And I was fascinated. So fascinated that I immediately changed courses. But paleontology isn't all easy going. The very first field trip I went on was pretty awful. We went to an outback fossil site and we were digging in extreme conditions. I've learned since that that's pretty standard for work like this. But to make matters worse, after 5 days I'd found nothing. I was getting really disheartened, and I was starting to regret my decision when, on the last day of the trip, I was digging into the bank of an ancient dried-up riverbed and found a funny-looking piece of rock. Inside it was a tooth from a giant kangaroo. Finding that one fossil made me realise that this was a field I really wanted to continue working in.
Okay. Answers?
Just a second. Let me. I have attempted all, but just revising the last.
Okay, yeah,
last
sure,
one.
sure.
Okay, sir, it's environment, extinction, awful, and tooth.
For number 3, sorry.
Awful.
Okay, no, not awful actually. Extreme.
Okay.
Extreme. And
Okay.
just check your spelling, please. Environment, extinction, and extreme, and then tooth.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope spellings are correct. Fine. For all those, because I'm not sure if you were able to understand what he said, I just want to play it and pause it, just to clarify. This actually improves our apprehension. I will just recommend you guys, if you watch movies, try to, turn on the subtitles, and whenever you miss something that you weren't able to understand, just look at the subtitles and then try to figure out. I'm not recommending you guys to watch movies, but I'm just recommending if you watch it, then use subtitles, or it will spoil your fun. It will spoil your movie, but it will improve your English. And otherwise, you can just listen to the recording. There are a number of recordings available on the net with a script. Okay, just keep that script in front of you and try to understand each and every word. So, anyways, just going to play it. I'm sorry. Now, this was our lecture 4, and this was the.
Recording 27.
Good morning, everyone. My name is John, and I'm a paleontologist.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Paul, and I'm paleontologist.
Now, when most people hear that, they immediately get an image of an old professor studying dried-up dinosaur bones.
So whenever anybody hears that, they get an image of an old professor studying, or bones of dinosaurs or something.
Or else they think of a great adventurer from the movies.
Or otherwise, if not a professor, then they may think that, well, if he's a paleontologist, then he must be like a great adventurer as we see in the movies.
Well, I'm neither.
Well, I'm neither, right?
But I would like to talk to you today about how I came to be a paleontologist and the reason I believe.
So today I want to talk to you how I came to be a paleontologist and the reasons why I consider that this is a very important profession.
It is an important job. All my life, my main interest has been the environment.
All my life, my main interest has been in the environment.
So I actually started out as an ecology student.
So I actually started as an ecology student.
As part of my degree course, I had to do a unit on extinction.
As part of my degree course, I had to do a unit on extinction. That means there must be some subject or part of a subject on extinction. And what is extinction? Extinction means like dying out or just disappearance of certain species from the earth. Like we see, there are two types of endangered animals. One is who has already disappeared from the face of the earth, and then there are others who are still in danger of disappearing from the earth, like panda. Panda is on the verge of disappearance. But it is believed that there are some animals like dinosaurs and others. They were there in historical times, but now they have disappeared. So that is extinction, right?
And a lecturer visiting from another university gave us a talk on Australia's extinct animals.
So a lecturer visiting from some other university gave us a talk on Australians' extinct animals, right?
One of the animals he talked about was called the diprotodon.
One of the animals he talked about was diprotodon or whatever.
It's an ancestor of the modern Australian wombat.
It's an ancestor of the modern Australian wombat. So you can say whatever that modern Australian wombat, the name of that animal, is. It's just it's just the same species of different form, and the diprotodon was its original form, or you can say its old form.
He described this enormous animal crossing ancient lakes, getting stuck in the mud.
He described these like enormous big animals were crossing some lakes, and they got stuck in the mud, and then they died there, and their bodies was preserved there, and all those preserved bodies, they're in scientific terms we call it as fossils. Fossils are kind of remains of animals and plants which are somehow preserved in between the rocks or something, okay?
And becoming part of the fossil record.
So after getting stuck in the mud, they became part of the fossil record.
Which is what we call the preserved remains of animals and plants that we find.
So now he has described that what is fossil. He said that which we call as animal remains of animals and plants that we find nowadays.
And I was fascinated. So fascinated that I immediately changed courses.
So I was fascinated by his that story, and so fascinated that I changed my courses.
But paleontology isn't all easygoing.
So paleontology isn't all easygoing.
The very first field trip I went on was pretty awful.
The very first trip I went on was pretty awful. That was, Amjad, about trip, not about that profession, condition of that profession.
We went to an outback fossil site and we were digging in extreme conditions.
We went for some fossil site, and we were digging in the extreme conditions. Now here the conditions are extreme, but he hasn't declared extreme conditions as a condition, as a normal working condition for that paleontologist profession so far. But in the next sentence he will tell that, well, after some time I realized, or I came to know that, well, this is the standard conditions that a paleontologist has to work into, right? So after that, our choice of that question, if let me show you. This question asks you, if you see, Paul says working in paleontology can be difficult, and he describes the conditions as dash. So far, he like the point up to which we have heard, and that he only tells that, well, those conditions were extreme on that trip. It is not about, so far it is not about a general conditions, that paleontology is all about extreme conditions. But in the next sentence he will tell it.
I've learned since that that's pretty standard for work like this.
So I've learned since then that this is a standard normal conditions for paleontologists. So this makes extreme conditions as extreme our right answer. Amjad, did you get it?
Yes, sir.
But to make matters worse, after 5 days I'd found nothing.
But to make matters worse, after 5 days I have found nothing.
I was getting really disheartened.
I was getting really disheartened.
And I was starting to regret my decision.
And I was starting to regret my decision when I found.
Then, on the last day of the trip, I was digging into the bank of an ancient dried up riverbed.
I was digging into the bank of a dried up ancient river. Okay, dried up river.
And found a funny looking piece of rock.
And found a funny looking piece of rock. I'm sorry.
Inside it was a tooth from a giant kangaroo.
Inside it was a tooth from a giant kangaroo. So, however, the discovery of a giant, tooth from an ancient animal. Now, this ancient animal was giant kangaroo.
Finding that one fossil made me realize that this was a field I really wanted to continue working in.
So finding that one fossil made me realize that this was the field I really wanted to continue in. So that was all. Again, I will recommend you, in the first class, I guess I told you guys which were the, radio stations that you should listen to. And I'm sure you didn't listen, because you even didn't attend my classes. So obviously that was very clear that you didn't get time to listen to those recordings. So, but still, whenever, after this course, if you have time before appearing in the exam, listen to the radio, English, like BBC radio, CNN radio, Australian radio, because these are purely native, speakers. So you learn a lot. You just tune up your ears for these different accents. Now, understanding how does ideas are connected. The topic and language in listening section 3 and 4 are more complex. Here are some examples of information you may hear. Now, this information is about the topics of these two sections. Like there may be the methods used in a particular study. There may be some students, they would be talking about the methods for a particular study. This generally comes in section 3. The effects of an action, then the reason an action was carried out, like in this particular recording that we just listened to, it was the reason how or why he started, he joined or he became a paleontologist. The conclusion that can be drawn from research and the findings of an experiment. So these are general discussions which are covered in these two sections, but these two sections are not slightly, but harder than section 2 and 1. So now listen to 4 extracts from listening section 3 and 4. You will listen to 4 small pieces of recordings, and 2 of them probably would be from section 3 and 2 of these would be from section 4. You have to decide what type of information from following, A to F we have just seen, you may hear in each of these sections or each of these recordings. Right, Amjad? Can you see it on the screen? Okay, right. I'm playing it now.
Recording 28. 1.
I don't really understand why you contacted Professor Higgins. He has nothing to do with our faculty.
Well, we wanted to understand what impact an invention like this would have on the environment, and that's his area of expertise.
2. First of all, we put video cameras in the animals' cages.
Yes, and then we put various tools inside the cages and let the animals back in.
We video recorded them over 7 days and nights to see what they would do with the tools. 3.
After gathering all of our data, we looked at the results. We realised that the number of frogs in this area had actually increased over the last 10 years, rather than declined.
4.
So what does that all show?
Well, I think we can deduce from this that any development in this area should be halted until the animals have all been safely removed.
Okay. Sorry. Amjad.
Yes, sir.
Answers.
Sir, it's C, B, D, and E.
C, A, E, and D. Look.
Sorry, C, A, E, and D. Oh my God.
C, A, E, and D. I'll play it again. Let me explain first. In the first, recording, they there's a professor or faculty member. He asked that lady or student that I don't understand, why did you contact Professor Hicken? And then she describes that, well, we studied this and that, and we wanted to see its effects on the environment. And environment is actually his area. So that's why we contacted. So she is actually describing the reason she contacted, why an action was carried out, okay? Then there are 2 students, they are describing, the methods they have used in their study. And this thing I have told you in reading and writing, in reading sections, reading classes, I told you, what do we mean by methods of a study? Methods are all those arrangements that we make to carry out a study. Like first we will, keep the animals hungry, then we will put some camera, then we will weigh them, then we will, make them run, then we will feed them and so on. So all that arrangement comes under methods of a study. Then in number 3, that was not, you can say that was slightly, there are three steps, right? Let me show you. There are 3 steps. One is generally results. I described this thing even in I guess, reading. One thing is results of a study. Then there are some finding. Generally speaking, we just, this finding is something in between result and conclusion. Okay? Finding and then conclusion. Right, sorry, this is conclusion, please don't mind, right? My conclusion is shaky a little bit. It's not a firm conclusion. So Now let's say we recorded temperatures over in 10 different cities during the month of June and July. Now the table, the table which record the temperatures, this table will be our results. Or if it's for that matter, if we are experimenting on animals, we are weighing them and writing down their weights here. So these are results. From this we can these results may show us that temperature is increasing or temperature is decreasing, something like that. So this is a direct observation made from these results. So this is our finding: the temperature is going high or low. Based on this, we can draw some conclusion that from these findings or from the result of the study, we can deduce or we can conclude that with the passage of time, temperatures are going higher. Overall temperatures are going higher. Fine, maybe because of climate change or something. So that would be our conclusion. So actually, there are two options. You may confuse them, to some extent. Like now you see the findings of an experiment. So something like directly, we observed directly from the data that temperature is going higher. That's it. In these 10 cities, temperature was going higher. But from this, we concluded something else, that because of environmental factors or the climate change, overall temperatures are going. That is our conclusion, like the conclusion that can be drawn from the research. So now I'm going to play it again, so that you can just have a relook on this.
Recording 28. 1.
Sorry.
I don't really understand why you contacted Professor Higgins. He has nothing to do with our faculty.
Well, we wanted to understand what impact an invention like this would have on the environment, and that's his area of expertise.
2. First of all, we put video cameras in the animals' cages.
Yes, and then we put various tools inside the cages and let the animals back in.
We video recorded them over 7 days and nights to see what they would do with the tools. 3.
After gathering all of our data, we looked at the results. We realised that the number of frogs in this area had actually increased over the last 10 years, rather than declined.
4.
So what does that all show?
Well, I think we can deduce from this that any development in this area should be halted until the animals have all been safely removed.
Fine. So I hope you understand that the first, for third, she was just taking a direct finding that number has increased. That's it. But what does it actually mean? That is a conclusion. Okay, so now listen to the second part of the Paul's talk. Now this is the same person, Paul, who was a paleontologist. Now I'm going to show you, play a recording, but this is in continuity with the previous lecture, right? Or previous talk that he delivered. So now for this, you have to answer the questions 1 to 4, using no more than 2 words. First, have a look on the questions. What information does Paul get from the machine he mentions? Now, this is really going to be very tricky again, Amjad. So be alert. What information does Paul get from the machine he mentions? And then what did the government recently give Paul? And then what modern day problem does he say ancient animals can help with? This number 3 is going to be very tough. Then what 2 causes of megafauna extinction does Paul hope to study? Please have a look on these questions again, and then please let me know once you are done. I'll play the recording.
Sir, play the recording.
Okay.
Recording 29.
What I appreciate most about my work is the fact that I can turn the fossils I find into information we can actually use. So, how do we extract that information? Well, first we need to run the fossil through a special machine. That gives me a date for the fossil. From then on, I begin to work out what type of animal it was, what it ate, and how it interacted with the landscape. Earlier this year, I was lucky enough to be awarded a grant from a government funding body. Paleontology isn't only about the past, it can help with current issues too. For example, I plan to use these funds to excavate new areas and try to find out how ancient creatures evolved during their own period of climate change, just as animals today have to. In another project, I'm going to study fossil collections that are housed in museums around Australia. I'm doing that to try to find out when Australia's megafauna became extinct. That is, all the giant mammals, lizards and birds. That will help us to finally find out what caused these extinctions. Was it nature or was it humans?
Okay. You have to give me answers, Amjad.
Okay, yes, sir. It's
Okay.
diet, grant, climate change, nature, and humans.
Nature and human, and what was number 4? Number 3 and 2? Sorry.
Number 3 is climate change.
And number 2?
Grant.
Grant. Okay, fine. So actually, for number 1, that was all about Australian accent. I have been warning you guys right from the beginning that whenever there's, this particularly for this Australian accent or old English accent even, how they talk for EIGHT 8 figure, they would say I eat. Okay, and similarly for date, they would say diet. And actually he said diet. And so,
Twice he said
yeah, yeah, most of the students, they right answer diet. But it's diet, D-A-T-E, date. Actually, he's telling us that, how does we work? Paleontology, how does it work? It's not about only, taking the fossils. The best thing he describes about this work is that, they can turn the fossil into really into a useful information. So for that, what they do, they just put in that fossil or they run that fossil through a special machine. That machine gives them or him a date. Okay, a date. Date means how old this fossil was. And then from that, he just study that how this animal interacted with its environment at that time, what it ate, how it used to live and so on. So then he tells that, well, recently I have obtained a grant from the government, and paleontologist is not only about learning the past. It also tells or gives us solution of our current problems. For example, he is planning to use that grant to actually see how different animals or how different animals interacted with, or you can say how old animals coped up with the changing environment, the climate change. The climate change is a big problem for present day as well. So if we could study that how ancient animals, they coped up with climate change, we can also see, or we can also introduce same method for today's animals as well. Okay, so that was climate change. Then he says that, well, I'm also going to study all the fossil record that is available in different museums in Australia, so that I can understand when the megafauna. Now, after saying megafauna, he describes that is all the big lizards and mammals and some other animals. So how they became extinct, that means how they disappeared from the earth, right? And from that, he wants to understand what were the two causes of of their extinction? Was it humans or it was nature? So he talks about grant and fund and everything. So I'm going to play it again so that you can just, understand it well now.
Recording 29.
What I appreciate most about my work is the fact that I can turn the fossils I find into information we can actually use. So, how do we extract that information? Well, first we need to run the fossil through a special machine. That gives me a date for the fossil. From then on, I begin to work out what type of animal it was, what it ate, and how it interacted with the landscape. Earlier this year, I was lucky enough to be awarded a grant from a government funding body. Paleontology isn't only about the past, it can help with current issues too. For example, I plan to use these funds to excavate new areas and try to find out how ancient creatures evolved during their own period of climate change, just as animals today have to. In another project, I'm going to study fossil collections that are housed in museums around Australia. I'm doing that to try to find out when Australia's megafauna became extinct. That is, all the giant mammals, lizards and birds. That will help us to finally find out what caused these extinctions. Was it nature or was it humans?
Okay. Wait, sorry. I'm really sorry. Right, I hope this is clear now.
Yes, sir.
Now, understanding and explanation to help you prepare for the listening, read the information in the questions carefully and try to predict what information you will hear. I have been talking about, repeatedly about this thing. Don't be worried if you see technical terms like we have just seen. He described fossils in it, he described megafauna in it, right? These words will be explained to you. So now, what did the researchers find in the experiment of mice? Read the 2 multiple choice questions below. Okay, let me move on to the questions directly. This one. I want you guys to focus on it. What did the researchers find in their experiments on mice? A lack of exercise made them appear older. Their cells remained the same as they aged, and their cells were unaffected by changes in diet. So one thing is common in all these 3 options. What is that? Getting older.
Yes.
Cells, aging of cells, right? So now that means there are 3 reasons that are going to be described to you. One was lack of exercise. Second was, no change in the cells actually. And third was no change because of diet. Fine. Then why new discovery? Now this is very interesting. Why new discovery have scientists made, what new discovery have scientists made about pigeons? They use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate, and then their beak plays an important role when they when flying, and a part of their ear helps them find their way. I'm giving you 3 minutes, or not 3 minutes, 30 seconds to please go through these questions, and then I'll play the recording, and then I'll explain. For now, before answering, or before even listening, try to sum up the recording. Now, Amjad, this is the time you can practice. You can just test. You have understood question number 1 very well, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So, I hope now you can take notes.
Okay.
Just try it. You can find the answer, no worries. But just try to take notes as well. And everyone else who would watch this video, I will just, request you guys to start practicing taking notes. But because sometimes these multiple choice questions really create a trouble for you. So for all those who are good at taking notes, at least they can take advantage of it. Fine. So now I'm playing it. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Or do you want to have a look on questions again?
No, sir. Let's play.
Okay.
Recording 30. 1.
We've recently been doing some research involving mice. We were trying to find out what causes the cells in our body to age. Is it linked to diet or exercise? What we found was that if we allowed the mice no exercise, their cells deteriorated fairly rapidly, giving them a prematurely old body. The mice that did exercise showed less change in their cell structure and so seemed younger.
2.
We've known for decades that pigeons can navigate using the Earth's magnetic field as a sort of compass. What we don't know is how this works. In our research, we discovered that the pigeon's brain receives a signal from its middle ear that the brain then processes to determine both their direction and the strength of the magnetic field. Previously, it had been thought that it was the bird's beak that held the answer, but this has since been proven false.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
For question number 1,
Mm-hmm.
it's option A.
Correct.
And for 2, I just want to go through options once again.
Yeah, sure.
It's not B at all.
Very right.
It's C actually.
Well done. Are you consulting your notes, right?
No, which note, sir?
No, you've just taken the points that you have made while listening.
Yes, I was taking notes.
That's great. That's good. You see, it's working for you. Just practice it. I guess it's working for you, right?
Okay.
Now, look. So what you have to do, you only have to see the focus or topic of these options and question. The time that is provided to you. Now, I'll just sum up, because this area is really a concern for many of the students, and I'm sure you people will also be troubled by this. So let me repeat the procedure that I told you. These are 4 sections: section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4. Now let's see, our MCQs are lying here from question number 21 till, and it was a very bad day for us, so we got 6 questions, MCQ questions, let's say. That is the worst thing you can have. So generally it's 4 or 5, but let's say that was your bad day, so that is 6 questions are waiting for you. So as soon as they will play the section 1, sorry, they will give you an example, solved example first, and then they will give you some time to look at question number 1 to 6 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, whatever. So once you will, after that, like, they will give you 30 seconds to look at question 1 to 6. Just have a look on these questions. Then they will play the recording, attempt these questions, right? After that, they will give you some time to look at question number 7 to 10. In that, again, look at these 4 questions, and then, sorry, then listen to the recording and attempt these questions. Once you will attempt all these questions, then they will give you time to have a look on all question answers, your answers, like answers of 1 to 10. In this time, I'm telling you, don't waste your time at looking at your answers, because you have already written it, you have heard something, and you have written it. That's it. So in that, just go and read question number maybe 21 and its option, and you can just underline certain points. Like I just summarized one point here. What was the common thing in this? They were studying the old aging of cells. That's it. The cause of aging of cells. That made your job very easy while taking notes. Okay. And in this, let's say if you could go through 21 and maybe 22 as well. So that will be your achievement. After that, just move on to this section. Again, they will give you some time for question number 11 to 15. Okay, during this, only look at these questions. Then again, question number 16 to 20. Again, just look at these questions during this time. After that, they will again give you some time to have a look on your answers. So again, during this time, you can have a look on question number 23 and 24 maybe. Okay, and then they will actually come to section 3, and then they will tell you now you can have a look on question number 21 to 26. So during this, you can have a quick look on these 4, or you can have a look on question number 25 and 26. It's up to you. Fine. So what we are doing, we are using these 30 seconds plus these 30 seconds plus 30 seconds, which are originally devoted for this 1.5 minutes to understand these options. Clear? In that, please practice during your practice sessions. What is the focus of the question? They found something during their experiments, and those experiments or that finding was about aging, reasons for old age or aging of cells. And one reason was lack of exercise, then the other reason was diet or something. So this was the focus here. Now in this case, you see new discovery, Amjad. Now the point that was confusing you, why you were confused between A and C. Although you found the correct answer, but what new discovery? So you have to focus on the new discovery. If you remember, I'll play this recording again. If you remember, they said that since ages, since years, yeah, we already know that pigeons use Earth's magnetic field to navigate. So that means this is not a new discovery.
Yes.
Right? So, but what then they said, but it was not known that how it works actually. He said that that picks up a big signal from comes in their brain, and that signal is somehow they use their ear, and this is transmitted to something, and blah blah blah. There's something in between their ears and so on. And then he says that previously it was believed, or it was thought, that it is the bird's beak that plays its role, but this is not the correct answer. It is actually the recent study or recent finding is this one. So if you can focus on it, and if you can make it during your practice session, I'm just especially for you. Why I'm emphasizing, because you brought up this problem to me, and for all those others who are really concerned about this issue, they can practice it. This is the time, right? And then whatever, like after 2 or 3 practices, you would see that either notes are working for you or not. So whatever the thing is, just establish that thing, and for remaining practice sessions and for exam, don't try notes them if it's not working for you, because it will in fact lead to more mistakes if it's not working for you. So now let me play it again for all those who missed the recording, or or for Amjad, do you want it? Sorry, do you want it?
No, sir, I don't want it.
No, you don't want it. So all those who are watching this recording, they can just go back and they can rewind the recording on the time bar on the, and watch that recording or listen to that recording again. So I'm moving forward. Now, why were the other 2 options incorrect? I've already discussed it in detail. Signposting words. What do we mean by signposting? Signposting is like, there are some marks written on the road, and they tell you, okay, go here, go there, and blah, blah. Like on websites, again, there are some signposting words that tell you next, previous, and so on. So there are some signposting words as well. They tell you the direction of the talk, actually. Whenever, an speaker will move from one topic to the other, he or she would use some signposting words. We have already seen a form of this type of words earlier, like when say now, so it means now they are going to start a new topic. Or if they say after that, again, that means now something next is being explained. On the other hand, again, that means there's some new topic that is going to be used. Okay, so now, again, like I've said, and so now, that means I'm moving to the next topic now. Listen to 6 short extracts from different listening section 4 talks. All of these pieces of talks that you would hear now or listen now, these are, the small pieces from listening section 4. And I want you to actually, this question is about filling the words, actually, writing the words that you listen to. Just in case if you fail to write, I will show you the exact answers, and then I want to explain something from those answers. Now, I'm playing it. Amjad, please note it down. Uh, the words which are already written there, okay, dash, the late 19th century. Okay, just I'm playing it. Right, you may write as much as you can because I don't think you have these printed notes with you, right?
I don't have printed notes. Secondly, just tell me for these questions, how many words are we allowed to write?
No, and the thing, whatever you listen,
Okay,
this,
okay, fine.
this is
Okay,
not a proper question. This is just to make you focused and try to show. I want to show you something, right?
Recording 31. 1. OK, let's move on to the late 19th century, when a great deal of changes were taking place. 2.
Now, first of all, I wanted to give you some background information.
3.
So, let's have a look at some possible reasons for this.
4.
And finally, I'd like to talk about some future projects.
5.
So, what conclusions did we reach?
6.
I'll begin by explaining what this machine can do.
Right, now if you see, these are the words, okay, let's move on to. That means now there's a shift to a new topic. Then now, first of all, so that is the beginning, right? Now let's have a look at this. Again, there's a shift in the topic. And finally, now that means it's going to end now. What conclusion? Again, conclusions are generally towards the end of the talk. And then I'll begin by explaining. So this is again, beginning of a talk. Sorry, I'm going backward, sorry. I've already covered that, these words indicate something, and they indicate either it's start of a topic, it's change of a new topic, and it's, used to finish of a topic. So we have already covered this thing. Why do we need to focus on this? Before that, let me show you. Now, can you see this exercise? This is a table completion chart task, and then we will also see a notes completion task. Okay, it will come after this one. In both of these tasks, if you see, this is first subheading, okay, this one, prehistory times. Then it's 2737 BC, then 202 BC, then 16th century. So that means the speaker will be shifting from one time period to the other. This will actually help you to keep a track of the talk. Here generally in section 4, the only problem that students face is the speed at which he speaks. He will be moving from one question to other very fastly, very fast. Actually, you'll be writing this answer, and you may find that as soon as you have written the answer, you will be required to move to the next answer. Okay, that would be only happen in one or two questions towards the end. For remaining questions, you will get time, but speed will be quite fast as compared to section 3 and section 1, section 2 and section 1 especially. So these points, like let's start a new topic and blah blah, these points actually help you to keep a track of the speaker. Like here, if you say you have to fill in this table. So in that, the first column is about plant, the second is about origin of those plants, then positives, then negatives. So you see, the speaker would either generally speaking, almost all of the time, they move column wise. Like first they will talk about potatoes, then its origin, then it's positive, and then it's negative, and after that they will move to the next plant, and that is tobacco. And then again here, 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 and here. So again they will move on to this. So these signposting words actually help you to keep a track of the speaker's talk. Okay, now again I'm using the word okay. That means I'm shifting towards a new topic now. How are here are some words you might hear in the talk. Match these words one to way to their synonyms. You must already be knowing it. This is not very tough. So I'm just please let's have a let's solve it quickly. Like results, findings, good. Then definition,
meaning,
yeah. Then challenges,
problems,
yeah. Then history. I'm going fast. Actually, this is not
background,
difficult. Yeah. Background, okay. Then advantages,
benefits,
benefits. Then disadvantages.
drawbacks,
Then answers,
solutions,
and then summarize,
conclude.
conclude, right? So this is already known to you. This was just to refresh, these points in your mind. Comparing and contrasting ideas. Sometimes the focus of the talk will be comparing or contrasting, saying what is same or different about several different items. Like we have just seen, there was a table that we need to complete, and in that there were different plants. And in that talk, the speaker will compare, different features of these plants, like the origin, advantages, disadvantages of one plant, then he or she will compare it with the other plant. Okay, this is a table. I'm sorry if you are, finding a teeth or something else. I don't know what's it, but this is a table, right? Trust me. So now the information may be organized as a table or that you need to complete. We have already seen it. Information in the table is always, you see, it's always read from left to right. I've already demonstrated it. The headings, including symbols, units on the top of the table, in the top row of the table gives you valuable information. Let me show you. Okay, now let's say if at all this column was for the rates or prices, and they write dollars here, so, and here for you see every column has already a solved part. You can say that okay, we have to write a price here, we have to write a price here, we have to write a price here. But this one column or two rows would actually already have an answer. And if a dollar sign is already there, so you can figure out that you see you also have to include a dollar sign here. But if there's no dollar sign here, that means he or she is using this dollar sign actually. And this is applicable to all of these. Or sometimes you can also have a dollar sign here. So that is understood that now you don't have to write a dollar sign because it's already written here. So that was one thing. Second point that I want you guys to see, it has got a heading, plants that change the word. So this gives you, you see, this enlightens your brain all of a sudden as you read it. The plants that change the word. So now we know that these are the 4 plants which change the word. So there will be a talk on its origins, then positives, then negatives, and then move on to the next plant and so on. So now I want you to have a look on it and then answer me these questions. I can go back if you want to see it again. Which of the following do you think you will hear? The names of all the plants, then all their origins, then finally a discussion of all the positive and negatives, or a full description of one plant that also contains some reference to the other plants listed, or a complete analysis of one plant at a time, describing its origin, then finally its positive and negatives. What do you think?
Sir, B or C?
C, actually C. Only 1 point at a time, most of the time. Most of the time, right? What type of information you will need to write for question number 1? I'm going back. Central and South Africa brought to dash by this. I mean, these are two different points. You have to figure out that origin was Central and South Africa. This is 1 point. Potatoes originated from this place. And then this is second point. And it was brought to which place? Yeah, very good. Name of a place, right? Okay, then in which column will the questions focus on the benefits? Obviously, we know that in advantages. In which column do the question focus on the drawbacks? We also know that. What information you will need to listen for question number 8? Oh, you'll not forget it, actually.
Yes, I will not at all forget that.
Yeah. So actually for question number 8, yeah, one of the plants, right? So why I carried out, ask these simple questions, it was just to make your brain process on the layout of the table and how to, move along the table while listening to the recording. Fine. So you might not be requiring it because for all those who are beginners, they should know that will the recording move upside down or it will move in this direction horizontally, right? Upside down was the wrong word here. I'm sorry. Will it move downward or no? Now listen and complete table with one word only. For all those who are watching this recording and for Amjad. This is actually in section 4, you get 10 questions, 30 seconds to watch at these questions and then you listen to the recording in one go. You have to attempt all these questions in one go. For all previous sections, they divide, like for question number 21 to 26, they give you time to have a look, and then question number 27 to 30 maybe.
Actually, they should have done this for this particular section.
For this, but they don't do it. So this is actually a real-time test.
Right.
So for everyone, please be sincere in that and pause the recording for 30 seconds to have a look at these questions. And then, pause this recording means this video recording that you are watching for video recording of my lectures. So after that, just give yourself 30 seconds to look at these questions and then play the recording and try to test yourself. Because this is probably the second last exercise we are doing for our listening sections. Okay, so test yourself. If you score 7 or 8 out of it, I guess you are in a good shape to appear in the exam right away, for listening at least. Okay, so you have one word only. I don't know if you are already watching it or not, but you can have a look on these questions, right?
Okay, sir.
I'll play the recording after 20 seconds almost.
Okay, sir, play.
Thank you.
Recording 32.
In my talk today, I'm going to be looking at plants that have had an impact on our world and our history. Let's start with the potato. It was originally one of the staple foods of Central and South America. And when Spanish explorers traveled to the Americas, sometime in the 16th century, the potato found its way into Europe. This had several important consequences. In particular, it almost totally altered people's diet in many European countries. The potato is also believed to have been responsible for the start of a new trend, that of migrating to America. So you could say that the humble potato actually allowed many people to change their lives. However, there were also problems associated with this crop. Largely in Ireland, where the poor were very much reliant on the success of the crops. Sadly, a disease in the crop spread rapidly across the country, and led to widespread potato crop failures in the mid-1800s. This meant that millions suffered from starvation as a result. Let's move on to look at another plant from the same part of the world, the tobacco plant. This originated in the Americas and had an enormous influence on the way North America developed in the 1800s. It's famed for being the original cash crop there and for funding a great deal of the development that occurred during this time. On the downside, the success of this crop resulted in a greater demand for slaves to work the crops, and this eventually led to war breaking out between the northern states and those in the south. Now, the next plant I'd like to mention is one known and used all around the world: tea. It originated in China, and in terms of its historical significance, it played a large part in the U.S. independence from Great Britain. This came about because the British government declared that the colonies had to pay a tax on the produce brought into America. It was because of the protest against these taxes that the American Revolution came about. The final plant I'll look at today is the white mulberry. Again, it originated in China and had an enormous influence on development in this part of the world, in particular in establishing trade between the East and the West. Sadly, the increase in trade brought with it the spread of disease and weapons.
Okay. Sorry. Answers?
Okay, sir. It's Europe, diet, life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about question number 4. I missed it, but I have just give it a hit and trial. You can say I just wrote the word mosaic. I don't know if it's right or
No,
not.
it was poor.
Anyway, yes. Okay. Next, I have written failure in question number 5.
No, actually, let me explain it. Okay. First, go ahead. Then I'll explain one by one. Right.
Number 6 to 10: cash,
Mm-hmm.
bought,
Mm-hmm.
tea,
Mm-hmm.
tax, and trade.
And last one, sorry?
Trade.
Trade, yeah, trade. Okay, fine. So it's Europe for first, that is clear, but E should be capital for Europe, remember. I've been emphasizing on these points, right? E should be.
Yes.
And then diet or diets, that's fine, lives is fine, then poor. And for this, it said that he mentioned, the speaker, she mentioned about 2 diseases. One disease was in the plant itself, but it didn't talk about a mass something. But second thing, she said that there was a disease that appeared in the plant, and it led to, actually she uses the word led to for disease in plant, not for disease asked in the question. Then she says that means hundreds of or millions of actually people suffered starvation. So that disease in plants led to starvation.
Okay.
You getting it?
Right.
Actually, this mass word is indicative of millions of people starved from this. Okay, and then cash was fine, and I guess rest all other are fine. So you got 8 in that, right? I 8 in that. Sorry. Okay, so that means you are good to go. Actually, Amjad, I've already told you are good to go, right? Now again, there's another kind in which other kind of questions in which you have to keep a track of the speaker, otherwise you are going to miss it, and that is actually taking notes, actually notes completion task. Now if you see it, there's a difference of layout in notes completion task and in the table completion task that you have just seen. Now, can you figure out what is the difference in the organization of the or layout of these questions?
So they were going from left to right.
Yeah.
Like for each particular heading.
Right.
And in this particular case, we have to come down.
Right.
And
This is one.
the hint will be that following the headings in bold.
Exactly. There we were following the columns of headings on the column, and here we will be following these headings, subheadings here. And second, I mean, how the arrangement of the information is different here. If you see, yeah, please go ahead.
Either sentences, and I have to pick the exact word or information required to fill in and complete the theme.
Right. No, actually, yeah, that is fine. That is also fine. If you see in the table completion task, the questions were arranged. Or sorry, again, this is a table. Please don't mind. Okay, let me make it a little better. So now this is better, right? So now in that they talked or they divided the information. Again, I messed it up. They divided the information according to plants, like potato, then tobacco, then tea, and then mulberry, or what was it, right? So they talked plant-wise, like first one plant, then second plant. Here the information is organized time-wise in chronological order. Like they stat that the plants in the prehistory time were flowering plants. Then the plant in this time or this era was tea. So here they are describing different plants according to time dimension. You getting it?
Right.
Fine. So that is the main difference in the layout of the information, or you can say how this information is described. Right. So now I want you to please have a look on this. I'm going to start my stopwatch, and after 30 seconds, I will just play. Good luck.
Recording 33.
In today's lecture, I'm going to talk about the part that plants have played in our history, something most of us probably never give any thought to. Flowers began changing the way the world looked almost as soon as they appeared on Earth, about 130 million years ago. That's relatively recent in geologic time. If all Earth's history were compressed into an hour, flowering plants would exist for only the last 90 seconds. Without those flowering plants, it's likely we wouldn't be here. They are fundamental to our existence, forming a vital part of our food supplies. If we look further on in time, to the year 2737 BC, we arrive at the discovery of tea by a Chinese emperor, when a leaf fell into a cup of hot water. This discovery eventually played a very important part in the history of China, the USA, and the UK. For Britain, when demand for tea was high, there were financial implications when a Chinese emperor declared that it could only be bought with silver, which they were then forced to find overseas. A second influential plant emerged around 202 BC in the form of the white mulberry. It became extremely sought after, and it remained so until 220 AD, because white mulberries provide food for the worm that creates silk. This luxurious material was responsible for establishing extremely valuable trade routes. And it was along these same routes that different religions made their way around the world. But unfortunately, they also caused the spread of previously unknown diseases, as well as weapons of war such as gunpowder. Finally, moving into more recent history, we come to the 16th century and the potato. It originated in Central America, but it was the Spanish who introduced it to the European diet. There, it quickly became popular because not only did it cost little to grow, but it was also a food source that was rich in vitamins. So much so that its arrival has been credited with ridding Britain of a disease known as scurvy. However, it is perhaps more famous now for the potato famines of the mid-1800s in Ireland. The Irish people were so dependent on the crop that its widespread failure over this period caused the deaths of over 1 million people and the emigration of a further 1 million to mainland Britain, Canada, and the US.
Okay. Answers?
Just a second.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. It's better you show the answers.
Okay, no, just okay, let's discuss it. Right, the first
Well,
one was
it's
food. Please remember, particularly for this exercise, there were lot of synonyms which were used. Otherwise, it was confusing. Like, were you confused about question number 1 in 2 words? I'm forgetting the first word that might have confused you.
That existence.
Existence, exactly. So, but
I chose that.
but it became an essential source. Now, what does that speaker says? It was the main, something of food supplies. Supplies is there for source, and food was the answer.
Okay, right.
All right, and then silver. I'm not sure if you could make it or not.
Yes,
Yeah,
silver, silk, religions,
yeah, these were quite.
gunpowder.
Yeah, these were quite easy. For gunpowder, she instead of e.g. she says such as, or for example.
Such
So
as,
that was gunpowder, and then number 4 is religions.
yes.
Okay, that was fine. And then for number 6,
I couldn't figure out the answer for that.
okay, this was Spanish. Like this was the same word used there in the previous table, right? Spanish. But for Spanish, S has to be capital.
Yes.
Then contain lots of vitamins. Yeah, that is fine. And help prevent. Now, if you see, she mentioned us disease, name of a disease.
Yes, scurvy. And I have written scurvy.
I know. You must have. Okay. So actually, when they
Yes.
can you make it like help prevent one specific
Disease.
whatever the name is? Can I
Yes.
say help prevent one specific
Scurvy.
habitat? No, that is wrong. That is wrong. So
It
one
makes sense
specific
about-
disease. It is one specific disease, and
Yes.
that specific was actually the name. Since that name
Yeah,
was
right.
very difficult for you, and it is not a common name or that everyone should know, so obviously they are not going to ask this thing in the exam. And even help prevent one specific, I can't write a name here. One specific
Yeah, right.
jaundice or one specific, diabetes. It's not like that.
That's right.
Okay. So in number 9, immigration. Just check your spelling because many of people they write I with immigration somehow. The last one. Okay. So it's emigration actually, EMI. Right. So that was all about listening, and that was all about the skills you required to learn for attempting all 4 modules of IELTS test. Now you are well equipped. At least I have delivered all of the material or all of the knowledge that I had, and now I'm not sure if you were able to grasp it or not. Uh, there's a problem here that generally IELTS, whosoever is appearing in the IELTS, he or she is a professional or a full-time student. Now that's a big problem. They can't, like Abdurrahman is too much busy in his exams nowadays, and doctor is too much busy in her profession nowadays, and same goes for Shakil. I don't know how Amjad manages it, but you know, I appreciate you for that. Ideal, you know, the situation is not very ideal for you guys. I understand that, but over the period, in the beginning, you know, it used to frustrate me that, well, I have told my students, please to do this, 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 and they're not doing it. But now I have accepted it. It's not possible probably for them to, listen to that recording on daily basis, listen to BBC radio or whatever. So the moment you will submit your fee for this test, after that, everything will become possible for you. Because now, then your money will be on stake. Although you have paid me a fee, but you know that is not that much as compared to the IELTS test fee. So now you have almost all of the recordings. That recordings are there for you. Just take notes. You have the notes with you. You have this workbook with you. I want you guys to spend 4-5 days, next 4-5 days, to just go through quickly through main points of all these notes. I will be sending you one complete test. When I say one complete test, that means one listening, one recording, one writing, one reading. I will be sending you these 3 tests, and you will take prints, and I want you guys to attempt these tests. Once you are done, please adhere to the timing that is given to you. Like if you are attempting a reading test, and so far you have attempted 36 questions and 1 hour is up, your time is up. What you do, you just put a line there that I have attempted 36 questions in 1 hour, and then you can attempt the remaining 4, and you can write the answers, for discussion purpose, for learning purposes. But please put a marker, put a sign over there that, well, these were the questions that I covered during my the given time. Okay, then you can take pictures of your writing test using mobile. It should be readable. It should not be blurred. Okay, and please email me those pictures. Email me those pictures. Then on Monday, inshallah, we'll start discussion on this test. We'll start with the listening test. If you have any queries on that, we may discuss. Then reading test, if you have any queries on that, we may discuss. And if I find, some problem in your way of attempting the test, obviously I will tell you how to do it. Okay, and then I will start discussing your essays one by one. I'm not sure how much time it will take, because sometimes an essay takes 2 hours and sometimes it only takes 35-40 minutes. So we will continue until we are done with discussing essays of all 4. So after that, I will give you second test, maybe on Tuesday or whenever we are done with the discussion of first test. Because after discussing these 3 tests, I also have to conduct a listening test for you guys. So in that again, we will have a lot of discussion. So I'm apprehending that I guess it will take 2 to 3 days for one test. After that, I will give you second test, and you will again attempt, and we'll repeat this procedure. I want to at least have 3 tests, full test with me. And after that, my course will be over. You can continue with your lessons, with your practice at your own. And if you have any query, anytime, you can contact me. I'll be there for you, right? Thank you very much, everyone. Wish you all the best, especially Abdurrahman, all the best for your exams. And I want all of you to please now try to sum up, right? I know you had been very busy in your during the classes, but now if you missed the practice sessions, you are going to miss a lot. Trust me. I would just say that if you missed the this practice session, that means you have wasted your money and time. That's it. Okay. So all the best, and see you guys on next Monday, inshallah. I'm giving you these 5-6
I
days.
have.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
You can quit the recording so that I can talk to you for a minute.
Okay, sure. Okay, take care. Bye bye, everyone.
Okay.